As it seems this is now a thing, I am back to present to you our favourite paragon of perversion, a connoisseur of kink, and a man so humble that when asked to describe himself, settled on the most intelligent, gracious, wonderful man ever in the history of the whole universe ever. It is, of course, our dear Rex Reginae.
Hello, my darlings and gentlemen. This is your host, Rex Reginae. Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction by our beloved UK darling. She is quite the clever girl now, isn't she? I'd like to introduce myself. I am Rex Reginae. Most people call me Sir. I am a barrel-chested advice giver, as the other intros would lead you to believe. I am tall. I am incredibly handsome. I am the handsomest man that you've never seen. And thank you very much for joining me tonight. It does mean a great deal to me that you spend some time with me. I know that there are always other things you could be doing, and I respect that you take 10, 15, 20 minutes out of your life once a week to come sit with me and to learn and to grow together. What I like especially about using this forum, and what I'm really liking about having this show, it did take me a while to come to the decision to do it. I've been the internet's greatest man of mystery for so long that I didn't want to give too much of myself away. But the thing is that I want to give more of myself away. The mystery angle of it isn't. Well, it's not that worth it. If I'm not helping anyone. Let me adjust this. I'm sorry if there's some scratching going on there. It's not worth it if I'm not helping people. And that's lately what I've realized is that I have got to help people. I have to. And so thank you, in short. Thank you for spending some time with me. This may be an episode more for the gentlemen, but it's not like the ladies have nothing to learn from it. So I do ask that you stick around. I know that you will. We are going to talk about a girl that is needy. I'll have to come up with a clever title. If you're watching this video, it's probably up and underneath what I'm saying right now. So for right now, parentheses, clever title. I want to start with the term needy. No, you know what I want to start with? Let's backtrack. I want you gentlemen to go get yourself a drink and then come sit down because we have a lot to go over. Here's your time. Are you back? Excellent. And what do you have to drink? Oh, that's a man's drink. I like it. All right, let's dig in. The term needy is here's one of my very, very favorite new words. Reductive term. Needy is a very reductive term. It's almost as if you are shrugging off a woman's anxiety, her passions, her needs. These are all things that are very real to her, and the idea, when we say needy, it generally has a very poor connotation. It's as if she's a nuisance. Bro, she texted me like 8 times. She's so needy. That's not how it works. She wants to know what's going on with you. Now, I have had some trouble with my recording, and this is the 5th time I'm doing this show. So I might be rapid firing through some things here. Please bear with me. And of course, you can always rewind it. Is that even a thing? Rewind? I think we still say rewind, but there's nothing wind anymore. It's very weird. She is anxious. Women are hardwired to be anxious. And I'm not talking about clinical anxiety. I'm not talking about medication. I'm talking about the emotion that they feel. They are hardwired to be anxious. Now, before you get all up in my face about gender equality and gender fluidity and this and that, that's all very fine. I'm talking about psychology and hardwiring from birth. I'm not talking about anything besides that. I'm not saying it's a product of this or a product of that. I'm talking about extensive psychological study. That's what I'm talking about. And you could agree with it or you can disagree with it, and that's fine. And if you disagree with it, well, then you're wrong. So it's fine. Women are hardwired to be anxious. That is the first emotion that they generally feel when something is not right, is anxiety. The first emotion that men feel when something is not right is generally anger. And that's due to testosterone when something's not right. When your boss says something off-putting, here's a good little example, and we could do a whole show on this. We could do, well, I mean, there have been years and years of psychological study on this. We could do years and years of shows just on this. But here's a response. Here's a basic idea before we dive into this needy thing. The woman's boss says something about a poor job performance. Her response internally is to be anxious, to be afraid that she's going to lose her job, and how will she pay the bills, and she'll never get that new purse, or she'll have to sell her car. And so generally her response to that negativity is anxiety. A man's response to a boss saying something that is derogatory is usually, fuck him or her, fuck this place, I don't need this bullshit, I don't need this in my life, I'm skilled, I'm attractive, I'm this, I'm that, I don't need to be here, they're lucky they have me. Those are two very general responses. Not that he's not thinking about all the financial aspects of losing his job, not that he's not thinking about it, I'm talking about emotional responses. So now that we have a clear vision of that, let's dig into this idea of the reductive term needy. She texts you all the time, all day. Do you know why? Because she misses you. And what's so fucking wrong with that? Men want, the proverbial to have your cake and to eat it too. You want a wonderful woman at home waiting for you to, make love to as you wish, and to make you sandwiches and breakfast and have your coffee ready and all this. But you also don't want to do any of the work it takes to do that. Now, women, I'm not completely on your side, so I know you're all going, hooray, sir, yes, if you're telling them, if you fucking stick it to them. But let's wait till we're done and we put all the pieces together. So you want this magical woman who has no anxiety and is there at your beck and call, but you also want her to know exactly when to ignore you and when you don't want to be bothered. Well, let's start with, if her messaging you is a bother, maybe you shouldn't be together, right? That's not the word that I would use when someone messages me, is a bother. And I think it's weird that people are so conditioned, women especially, to that most of the messages that I get from someone for the first time starts with, I'm sorry to bother you, but it's not a bother. That's why I have my information up at the end of the show for anyone who wants to message me to feel free to do so. This idea that women have been so conditioned that they are bothering a man if they are talking to him is ridiculous, especially if they have a question or a need. So let's go through a day. Now, this can be online relationships or face-to-face relationships. It's all the same because they are all real relationships. She texts, how are you? Good morning. Or I miss you, or whatever she starts off with. He doesn't respond. An hour later, I hope you're doing okay. Have a great day. An hour later, I miss you. And then an hour later, are you okay? Are we okay? Are you mad at me? Now, what happened was that you didn't respond to her, so she thinks you are most likely dead. You have been mugged and you're beat up on the side of the road. Somebody stole your vehicle. Your auntie died and you had to leave the state. You've flown to another country because you actually work for the CIA, and right now you're running from a Russian assassin. Any number of things run through her head, and we both, men and women, have a tendency of doing that. When we don't have an answer to something, we create a horrible, horrible situation that is often very, very wrong. But there it is in our head. And a little bit of psychology for you. The mind oftentimes does not know the difference between a real event and an imaginary scenario, if it's vivid enough. That is to say, you feel, men and women both, feel emotional responses to things that you have made up. We do that, don't we? Think about it. Think about jealousy, gentlemen, especially gentlemen. You have made something up, and you're jealous over it. That's how the mind works. So, now, how can you alleviate this? Text her back, for fuck's sake. Now, there are any number of reasons, and gentlemen, this is where I'm going to stand up for you. Ladies, maybe he's having a great work day, nose to the grindstone. It's meeting after meeting, and he is winning. He is just winning today. And life is very good for him. Or maybe he's having a rotten day. Maybe his day is just shit. And he just doesn't have the mental space. And because he doesn't have the mental space, he feels like he can't provide what he needs to you, which causes him a great deal of shame, which means he doesn't want to talk to you. And then when you start, ladies, when you start with the texts of well, if this is how it's going to be, or if you're just going to ignore me, then maybe we shouldn't be seeing each other and all that. When you start in with that, now he feels shame. And because he feels that shame, he doesn't want to text you because now he's in trouble. Now he has to answer for something. And we should remember that I don't care what your titles are, if it's daddy little girl or anything. We should remember that the person that we're with is not our parent, and we are not children. So now this man feels that he has to answer to you because he didn't want to text. Maybe he wasn't in the mood. Maybe he's felt like shit all day. Maybe he's been to the bathroom 18 times. You don't know. And you can't believe the imagined scenario that you have made up yourself. You cannot believe that and have an emotional response to that and then make him accountable for it. Does that make sense? If it doesn't, listen to it again. That's the beauty of these things, is that you can go back. You can sometimes I go so fast, I know. You can skip back 2 minutes and then listen to that same thing again. And that's the beauty of these shows, is that's why I have them out there for everyone to listen to as much as they want to. So now what we're saying is that he's now created an emotional response because he's upset. And he thinks, and the only way that he can deal with this is to say that you are batshit crazy, and he doesn't have to talk to you because you are batshit crazy. So now she's going off the deep end. Now how do I deal with this? How do I talk to her about this? Okay, now here is the thing. Here's how we're going to fix this whole mess about neediness. And the reason I'm using text messaging because it's the most common communication when you're away from each other, and the biggest display of this so-called neediness. Yes, if she's right next to you and she's touching you a lot and she wants this and she's up in your face with, can I do this for you? I want to do this, or let's do that, or let's go here. It's not a different situation, but I'm using the whole idea of text messaging as an example because we have such a short time together. We could go on and on and on. Now, before we get to the fix, there is something that I do want to mention. I watched some other videos on neediness from some other people, and excuse me. And they might even be on the side or below or whatever you're looking at. They're rubbish. You can go ahead and take a look at them, but they're very flashy. It's not just a black screen. You know, you can see somebody talking. But what they have to say isn't very important at all. This idea that neediness comes from insecurity and, you know, that a woman shouldn't be needy. You should be needy. You have needs, don't you? You want attention, don't you? This idea that you should be strong and completely independent is fantastic as long as that is who you are. You don't have to be that. No one says you have to be. And if you are one of these women who would knock another woman for needing her partner, well, then you are a fool and you need to mind your own business and go live your own boring, lonely life. Do you understand me? Oh, somebody got burned there. There's nothing wrong with needing the person that you love in your life. There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually kind of built in to the program. That's how it works. So, now on to the fix. A lesson sometimes very harshly learned is that you don't have to be afraid to be honest. Sometimes that's a very, very hard lesson to learn. What happens with us men when we decide to be honest, when we say, I'm sorry, baby, I'm just having a very bad day? We know that text is going to elicit a motherly response, which has no ill will at all. It is a motherly response. It's a caring response. But it makes us feel shame, like we can't handle ourselves and we need someone else to help us get through it, which is not a comfortable feeling for a man. We like to be strong. We like to have our shit together. And that idea to us that we are in need of nurturing makes us feel bad. Now I'm talking general rules and I'm throwing out every bit of nonsense floating around right now. I'm talking psychology, as I said. I'm not standing up or defaming. I'm taking no stand on any social issue. I am talking about psychology. It's not a feeling that we like. So we often don't talk about it. When we say, I'm just really sad today. I don't know why. I'm just really sad. We feel weak, and we don't like the feeling of weakness. So we say nothing. And men, what we need to learn is that you don't have to be afraid to be honest. And now this is where we're going to get to what you have to do. Those feelings that you have are as real as you imagine them to be. So while her anxiety is running high, wondering where the hell you are, if you have 2 broken legs, if you've been in a helicopter accident, your car's in a ditch, all you need to do is say back, look, I'm just having a rough day. And be natural. Be honest. You don't have to be afraid to be honest. Those feelings of inadequacy, weakness, and fear are as real as you make them out to be. And if instead of thinking, I'm going to appear weak, think, this woman loves me, and wants to get to know me. And let her know you. Her anxiety will go down. She will understand why you haven't messaged her back. And then she will probably respond with something that's very sweet, kind, caring, and loving. Which, while you may have to fight those rather primitive emotions of feeling weak for needing her, the truth is that you do need her and she needs you. She's the only one with balls enough to express it. Don't think of a woman being needy as some kind of challenge. Isn't it right that she should need you? Isn't that what you want? Wasn't there a point in time when you had a first date and you wanted to fill all of her needs? Wasn't there a time when you looked in her eyes and you thought, I want to fill her needs forever? Well, she's giving you an opportunity by letting you know that she needs something. And if you need something, then you need to give her the same opportunity. It's just a question of being human. The idea that it all stems from insecurity is ridiculous. We are all people, every one of us different. Basic similarities. The same holes do the same things. The same organs do the same things. But in our minds, the realities that we create are completely different. And the only thing I can formulate or speculate on is basic psychology. I'm not talking about every single man ever or every single woman ever. I'm talking about basic psychology and my own life experience. And if someone out there was offended by this episode, well then that's just too damn bad for you. I feel sorry for you. Handle her gently and lovingly. And when you think about how annoying it is that she is, quote, needy, just remember that it could be very different. She could not need you at all. And if you're not careful, that day will come much sooner than you expect. Treat her well, gentlemen. Never shirk her needs because they bother you. She's important. Take time. Pay attention and be the best man that you can be. Until next time, all of my best and all of my love, even to you, you bastards. Sir.